All right, guys, the new 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate in the United States came out today. All right, guys, the new 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate in the United States came out today. And let's see what we have in store, because that's the number that we're going to be using for the next week to determine what our deals look like. And so if you've been watching the show, then you know that it's the number that we use for the entire next 7 days to analyze every single property that comes across our desk. Today, there are 14 properties that hit the market in South Florida. That's Miami, Broward, and West Palm Beach, or Palm Beach. And we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna check out all of them. We're gonna grade them all. We're gonna find out if they cash flow, if they don't, where they fall in the 1% rule, and if they create wealth in the long term. So basically every metric that you see here, we're gonna go through all of these and find out where the properties lie, see if it makes sense or if it doesn't. So with that being said, guys, let's get started. Let's check out these rates that just dropped today. All right, guys, so we were last week, as you can see in the calculator right there, we were using 6.37% for our interest rates. Well, we saw that come back down to 6.3. Now we're a long ways away from where we were back in February, late February, almost March, where we were below 6. And so that was the time when, if you remember, Donald Trump came out and said, like, hey, it's been 5 years since we've been below 6. And that was right. But then like a week later, we started this whole thing with Iran. I think if we end up with this whole thing with Iran and we end up on really good terms where now we could get oil from Iran, oil from Venezuela, we're going to be set up for some really awesome interest rates. But we're not there yet, guys. We're not there yet. And so we're going to be underwriting all of our properties for the next week using 6.3 as our interest rate, because that's currently where we're at. Now, if the properties make sense, great. If you think, hey, in the future, interest rates are going to drop, great. But we're going to look for the deal to make sense at 6.3. Excuse me while I have a Red Bull. I analyzed a bunch of other properties today for a client, and we're about to analyze another 14. So I'm going to go and fuel up for this. Red Bull isn't paying me, but maybe one day. All right, let's go ahead. Let's check out the actual market, guys. Because one thing is interest rates, and the other one is the markets that we're in. Now, this is the market at large. And remember, real estate is hyper local. So real estate is all about down to sometimes yards, right? Sometimes meters, where you're at, right? How many of you guys have been into a neighborhood, which is like an awesome, fancy, bougie neighborhood? You cross the street and you're like, where the hell am I? Right? Like big tourist trap, right? Or the same thing, you go on vacation, you're in the great part of town, and all of a sudden it gets really dicey. That's the way that real estate is. However, the stats that we're going to look at now do give us an idea of where, right? The idea, the mentality, the kind of like the atmosphere around real estate as a whole. Right? And it allows us to approach our negotiations. It allows us to approach the mindset of the seller as well when we are making an offer. So with that being said, I always look at how many properties came onto the market new. 2,127. So here we go, guys. All right. So, whoops. Let me do one thing real quick. So here we go, guys. 2,127 homes hit the market in the last 7 days. In the same amount of time, 2,150 homes saw a price decrease. So again, this is basically saying, if you guys haven't been on this channel before, it's basically saying that for every house that's coming onto a market, you have another seller that's already sitting on the market, calling his agent and saying, hey dude, let's drop the price. And how does that influence what we do today? Well, that influences us because we know that if there's a deal that's borderline close, right? So if there's a deal that we come across these, right? We always look at the 1% rule, right? We look at the 1% rule and we're like, hey, if it's close to the 1%, as close as it gets, the better. And for me, the cutoff where I don't look at anything is like if it's less than 0.7. So not a 1%, but 0.7. If it's anything below 0.7, I discard it, right? But keeping this in mind, you have to know that maybe you're going to be able to influence that purchase price enough where maybe this property could be on the threshold of checking it out and maybe making a deal out of it. Remember, guys, that at the end of the day, every single property is a deal at the right price, right? So every single property is a deal at the right price. And that's the mentality way that I go in. And we also got to go in and see like all the levers that we can pull. And that's what we're going to go over. All the levers that we can pull to try to get that seller to give us the price that we want. And this is the first one. Actually, this is the second one, because the first one is a high interest rate. You might think that high interest rates are bad for buyers. No, they're actually pretty good for you. It allows you to negotiate with a seller. Because guess what, guys? If interest rates go to 2.75 like they were during COVID, that seller's gonna have a line of buyers out the door offering him whatever he wants. And all of a sudden, the price that you thought that you were, getting jacked for, all of a sudden it looks like a really good price. So remember, interest rates are working for buyers, right? Make them work for buyers. Now, most buyers are afraid of it, but again, that goes to what I said. The second thing is the market. You could tell the sellers like, hey, listen, Mr. Seller, I know that, and you don't even have to tell him, to be honest, because some sellers are going to take that as an offense and they'll never want to talk to you again, even if you give them an offer that they would have taken, right? But you just have to know psychologically that this guy's just going to get worn out. Like, you're just going to be nice to him and tell him that his property is fantastic, that you love to buy it, you take it off his hands, but that you can't really, make the numbers work and have these numbers work for you. Know that all these people are dropping their price and tell that to the listing agent. So anyway, guys, there's 14 properties to review today, so let's get started. We're going to come down here. We're going to look at new multifamilies, right, in the last 24 hours. And as you guys can see, there's 14 new ones, all right? Now, they go anywhere from $3 million down to $639,000. So it runs the gamut here, okay? This $3 million one, I can guarantee you that it's listed incorrectly. It's more than likely a commercial multifamily, meaning 5 units plus, which is underwritten, and it's the underwriting could be similar, but the way that the financing works for this is totally different. So with that being said, guys, let's get started. I like to sort by price per square foot. And it's nice, right? So actually the worst deal here is probably this one duplex. And just because the price per square foot is so high, usually anything higher than the 400s is not going to be a deal. But sometimes listing agents, notoriously, they're good for, putting information up that's incorrect. So we like to review them in any case. So let's put that up on our calculator. First property up, it's a $750,000 duplex in Broward County. All right, the taxes they're currently paying $12,278 a year in taxes. Square feet, 1,382 square feet. 82 square feet. Okay, the rents. They don't tell us how much the rents are, and they don't tell us what flood zone it's in. No matter, we'll figure it out for ourselves. First, let's look at the pictures. What kind of product are we getting here? What kind of, what kind of finishes do they have? Okay, doesn't look bad right off the bat, right? Artificial grass, but no matter. All right, I like the way that they set it up. I like the little trees. They really like bonsai'd them. Cool picture of your motorcycle, bro, but what is this on the side? Is it like a food truck or what? I think it's a food truck. Okay. On the inside, it looks nice, right? Okay, this is cool. Well, it's probably why he wants so much per square foot. Okay, not a fan of the tile on the walls, but yeah, he spent a lot of money on AstroTurf. This guy, thousands and thousands of dollars. So I guess this is how the property used to look. This almost has the feel of a single family home with an additional dwelling unit. So again, the insides, I would say it's like B quality, right? Let's look at the guts of the deal and see what's going on. So it's in Broward County. They say that it's an excellent income or house hack opportunity and desirable cross-on park. The versatile property features 2 completely separate homes on one lot, each with its own private fence and yard for added privacy and flexibility. The front home, first of all, is this a real duplex or a single family home? Let's figure it out. Let's look at these records. So it's a single family home, guys. So before we keep diving into this, we're just gonna go ahead and discard it because again, we're looking for multifamily homes here. But just for shits and giggles, let's see how much the rents are. He's actually able to get here. So $2,400 for one home, and he says that for the other one, he's actually saying that the 2-1 gets $2,400 and that the 2-2 gets $2,000. Now, right off the bat, right, you can see the 1% rule. It does not work out for us, guys, on the 1% rule, right? It's not a fail right away, okay? It's not a fail right away. I mean, it would not be a fail right away, but I always like to do one thing before I fail it on the 1% rule. I like to check the rents, right? So he did say that it's in Broward County, and I like to look at the 2-1s, right? Look at the 2-1 in Broward County. It rents for $1,900 all the way to $3,000, right? Now, he's saying that one of them is renting for $2,000, and that's right about the median, okay? He's saying that the 2-1, though, the smaller one, is renting for $2,400, and that's pretty much between the medium and the max, okay? And that's kind of hard for me to believe, but in any case, let's give him even the benefit of that doubt, that actually is the case. That's not enough money to even pay the mortgage on this house, even if you put a 25% down payment on it. So at a 0.6 on the 1% rule, at a 0.6, and at a 91% on your debt service coverage ratio, meaning that it would only pay about 91% of the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. This property is a fail for me on the 1% rule, okay? Even though it's a pass on the rent. And well, we know enough, guys, with looking at the 1% rule, right? That if we were to go over and we were to look at how much money this property makes, right? If we look over here and you compare it to the S&P 500, you guys could see right away, like it just doesn't make sense. Like you're making 6.1% returns on investment. Might as well just invest in the S&P and call it a day. So for that reason, guys, this property also fails on the S&P, okay? And for me, that's just enough. We know that if it fails on the S&P, it's not gonna cash flow either, right? So we're gonna fail it there, and it's gonna fail at creating wealth too. It's just not gonna be enough for us. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pass on this property and keep moving. Okay, guys, up next, we have, all right, so interesting. Let's reset that. Our next property takes us, it keeps us in Broward County, and it's the $1.7 million one. Give me one quick second. And let me do this. All right, guys, sorry about that. Let's just take care of something. All right, so we were here and we were looking at this fourplex. Okay, this fourplex is $1.695 million. All right, they're currently paying $23,611 a year in taxes. How big is it? It's pretty big, 3,831 square feet. Okay, let's actually take a look at these pictures. Okay, so this is actually a fourplex. It's like legit. It looks really nice. Yeah. Okay, this might be the nicest fourplex I think I've seen all year. Yeah, even the backyard, the neighborhood looks nice. Shoot. Okay, all right. Let's look at the guts of this deal. I'm interested, even though it's higher on the square foot. All right, so they say it's in Coral Springs, exceptional 4-unit investment opportunity in prime neighborhood, a fully renovated quadplex featuring 4 beautifully redone units, yada, 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 yada. All right, cool. Whatever. How much are they? We'll analyze everything later in terms of like the area, but for right now, guys, what is it actually producing? So he says that there's 4 3-2s, each one at 1,000 square feet, roughly. Okay, because he said that it's 3,800, so it's a little bit less than that. But that they are renting, right? One of them is renting for $2,478 a month. The other one is renting for $2,350 a month. The other one is renting for $2,785 a month. and the other one's renting for $2,662 a month. That gives you a total rent of $10,275, which isn't terrible. But guys, if we're looking for a 1% kind of a property, then we know that what we're looking for in rent is closer to $17,000, okay? Closer to $17,000. And $10,000 is probably like 60 something percent. Let's go up and see. Yeah, so it's 61%, right? It's 61%. And I don't think at 61%, we're gonna get the returns that we want. As a matter of fact, it's not even gonna be enough to pay the mortgage. So unless I could think of like maybe increasing the rents by a whole lot, right? Then this property is not gonna make sense. But just for shits and giggles, to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, let's look at the next, let's do the rent check and see if it works out. So, okay. Let's go here. And we're looking at the rent checks. This is in Broward County, and there are 3 2s. Okay, guys, so I think that, right, the median average, or the median for a 3-2 is $2,700. So we could actually say, I think, in all fairness, the property looked pretty good, that we could raise all these to $2,700. And I was actually going to say, this guy is renting some for, above $2,700. So $2,700 here. And that gives us $10,885. But let's do one better. Let's say that like this guy might not be the best property manager, right? In terms of like leasing out his units for the best amount of money or just marketing. Let's say that you could get $2,800, closer to what he's getting for rent number 3. $2,800, $2,800, $2,800, okay, and $2,800. That means that at best, I think that we could get in this property is $11,200. If we go back up and we look at this, right? Now you're at 0.66. It's failing the 1% rule, okay? And now we look at the DSCR. How much of the mortgage will the rent actually pay? And well, guess what, guys? It'll actually pay for the mortgage. But that's not what we're looking for, guys. We're not looking for that. As a matter of fact, you can't even get lending on that. Why? Because a lender is lender's going to want to see at minimum, that the rents are able to pay 110% of the mortgage, okay? They'll start getting happy talking to you when they are able to pay 125% of the mortgage, okay? And this property, right, with us kind of like manipulating the rents and saying, hey, we're going to be able to get the rents up to $2,800, Mr. Bank. Yeah, the bank's going to tell you, yeah, but even at that, you're only at 104. What if you can't even raise the rents to that? What if you stay at the original ones, right? This is already higher. You're barely going to cover the rent. If you have any vacancy, now you're going to have to come out of pocket to pay me, right? So these are the original rents. And so the bank doesn't want to see that. The bank wants to know that if in case you are not paying their mortgage, they're able to take the property back, have the property be something that they could sell because it's cash flowing, right? So for that reason, guys, we're going to go ahead. We're going to discard this property too and move on. Okay, next up, we're getting to the low 400s. So I'm excited to, for what's left here. All right, so next property up, it's $1 million fourplex in Miami Dade, currently paying $9,328 a year in taxes. Actually, guys, we didn't change this mortgage rates. Not that would have mattered a whole lot, but it went from 6.37 to 6.30. Okay. All right, so square feet, 2,478 square feet. Rent, they're saying that they're collecting $6,000 a month in rent. And guys, we don't have to be geniuses to know that $6,000 is 60% of $10,000. And $10,000 is 1% of the purchase price here, right? So that's the 1% rule, 60%. It basically, I think that this guy wrote this or underwrote his own deal so that he could tell you like, hey, it would pay the mortgage if you put a 25% down payment. What he doesn't know is that yes, it might pay the mortgage, but just barely. And the bank's not gonna like that. So you're probably gonna have to like come out of pocket and pay, more money sometimes, or just pay a higher interest rate if you really want that property. So we'll see here. Okay, So check out the neighborhood, guys. This is all undeveloped. These look like they're single family homes over here. This looks like some unincorporated land. Yeah. Not a fan of the layout, just as the building is. Like, look at this like huge like weird sidewalk, which parking space. Who knows what? Are you responsible for that? Like, if somebody trips and falls on this, are you responsible? That's a lot of like easement to cover. Is it on a septic tank? Yeah. All right, so it's parking space. Okay, that helps to know. So it's parking space. Okay, mini splits. Okay, not a fan of those. Not a fan of the flat roofs. But on the inside, it's wow. It's like night and day. Okay. And he gave us a whole. All right, cool. All right, well, let's look at the guts of this deal and see what's going on, guys. So he says that it is, and we don't have to read through all this stuff because actually he does us a favor of putting the unit breakdown here. So it's 1-1, another 1-1, a 2-1, and another 2-1. So let's do a quick rent check, guys, before we do anything else. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna say next on the 1% rule for now, and we're gonna check out these rents. All right, so the 1-1, he's saying that he's getting 12. Let's put it up here, $1,200. Then he says the other one he's getting $1,200. The 2-1 he says $1,800, and the other 2-1 another $1,800, for a total of $6,000. Okay, Broward County 1-1s. Guess what? It's like this guy. Oh no, $1,200. Well, look, guys, the least I ever saw on a multifamily in Broward was $1,150. So I think that you could actually get a little bit more for these rents here, okay? For these two rents. And then the 2-1s, he's saying that he's renting them out for $1,800. I think that that's maybe more accurate. It's closer to the number that it should be. I think the median is $1,960. If the property on the inside really looks as nice as this guy has it, then I don't think that he needs to do a whole lot of work, right, to bring these rents up. Okay. Yeah, I don't think he needs to do a lot of work, which begs the question, why is he selling it, right? Why is he selling it? Maybe he really can't get those rents. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt, guys, and let's see what happens if we could actually say that for the 1-1s we get the median price of $1,600, and if we could get the median price for the 2-1s of $1,960. If that's the case, then we're collecting $7,120 a month in rent. It would be just above the 1%, or the my threshold for not making it to the 1% rule, right? I don't like to look at anything that's less than 0.7, and it would be pretty close to getting 125% on the DSCR. You could actually get a loan if you were able to get rents this high. Now, right, where would this deal sit right now compared to the S&P? And you can see, guys, it barely matches the S&P at this point. So this property is really, the way it sits, it's a D. It has, I think, the potential to be a C property at best, okay? If you look at the cash flow test, right, it would cash flow on day one if you put a 25% down payment. But again, you would need to get these rents. So these are two things that need to happen for this property, right? The interest rates would need to stay at this point or lower, okay? And you would also need to be able to prove to yourself, right, that you're able to get these increased rents on this property. Now, how can this property make more sense? Okay, how can this property make more sense? Well, simple. Like what I said at the beginning of the show, every property makes sense. It just depends on the deal that you buy, the number that you buy it at. I think that this property could make a whole lot more sense if you get close to like the 800, 18, like maybe 850, right? So you can see here at 850, we're at 0.84. A bank would lend on you easy, with these rents. Yeah, all of a sudden the returns on an investment, it's almost 5% over the S&P 500. Okay, you would definitely be cash flowing on day one with a 25% down payment, but it would just take longer using FHA or a 10% down payment. And even if interest rates, guys, went to 4.5, while you would cash flow on day one with a 10% down payment, you would still take a year and a half to cash flow with FHA. And we've seen so many deals over the last like month and a half where if we drop if we drop interest rates to 4.5, we don't even have to play with the rents. They'll just cash flow on day one. And so for that reason, guys, I would leave this property as is. I would stack it away, Class C kind of a property. I wouldn't really touch it unless you run through all your, amazing fines, your A-class fines, your B-class fines. And then if you, for whatever reason, can't get any of those deals, you could, take this one out of the drawer there. All right. So with that being said, guys, this $1 million quad, right, fourplex in Miami Dade is a C property, and it's not really worth a lot of our time. Next up. All right. Let's just look at the numbers here. Price is not that different, $995,000. All right, they're currently paying $7,374 in taxes per year. Mind you, that number will go up. Let's put this number back where it belongs, 6.3%. Square feet, this property has 2,525 of those. And rent. Okay, guys, this might be interesting. He says that they're collecting $8,200 a month in rent. Whoops, sorry. Went a little crazy there. This is zero. All right. $8,200 a month in rent. And you don't have to be a genius, guys. That's pretty close to the 1% rule, right? At 0.82. All right. And that would be, if that's accurate, if we could rent check this and it's true, that would pay for the rent and then some. That would pay for the mortgage, sorry, and then some, okay? It would leave you actually with 41% over what you're paying for the mortgage as money for you, right? Obviously, you got to put money aside for repairs and all this stuff, but it's not looking bad. We could basically guarantee that this property would cash flow on day one using a DSCR loan, okay? A 25% down payment loan. Now let's look at the pictures and let's look at the guts of the deal and we'll go from there. Okay, so I don't like already the product. I'm not a fan of it. Stairs, liability. Okay, third picture, he gives us his little breakdown. Gross income, $96.50. Okay, but he told us it was this much. All right, but let's not hate on this guy too much. He tells us that these are his expenses, taxes, electricity, water, internet, insurance. So this guy doesn't do any repairs. He doesn't save for any capital expenditures either, and he apparently never has vacancies. So that's how he's determining his cap here, his capitalization rate. Okay, but that's not what we're going to be doing because we like to be conservative because we don't want any surprises. All right, unidad 1 means unit 1. Okay, unidad 3 means unit 3. You guys get it, right? Okay. So it looks well maintained, right? Let me know what you guys think, but I mean, it looks well maintained. The problem is this a legit fourplex? What's going on with this property? Let's take a look at this. I hope it's not a single family home. Nope. Okay, so it's multifamily. It was originally built as it's built as a duplex, guys. It's built as a duplex. Okay, so that's already a red flag. It's built as a duplex with 2 stories. And the duplex originally only had 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. So they've obviously added to it, right? And so you can see here, additional features. Wall, concrete block construction, 4 to 8 inches in 1987. They also added a chain link fence and then a concrete slab. Okay, so where are they getting all these properties from? Okay, where are they getting all these units from? All right. Let's see the description. No seller financing. Must show proof of funds or bank letter. 5 units. Rare opportunity in the heart of Miami. This multifamily offers 5 income producing units. A perfect setup for multi-generational living. 2 units of 2 bedrooms and bathroom each. 2 units of 2 bedrooms and bathroom each. And I guess 1 bathroom each. So 2 2-1s. 2 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom. So 2 2-1s, 2 1-1s. And its own private deck and storage areas and a studio. Whether you're an investor looking for high demand, da 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 da. All right, guys. So, yeah. So here he tells us the multifamily is legally a duplex. The other 3 units are not legal. All the leases are 6 months. The return is there. The seller will give $1,000 for closing if preferred lender is used. Toll Pro, call Oscar Salazar, blah, 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 blah. Okay, guys. So that being said, let's put this into our calculator. $2,300 for the first one, he says. $2,300 for the second. $1,800 for the third, for the 1-1, and $1,800 for the other 1-1. Okay, that gives us $8,200. He says that there's also a studio there. Let's make sure that this actually passes the smell test when it comes to the rents. Okay, in Miami-Dade County, a 1-1 rents for about $1,600. Now that looked really nice. It looked like really nice on the inside and might be in a good area. Okay, Tamiami. But I don't know if it actually rents for $1,800. He did say it's 6-month lease, which is a shorter lease, and that's why he might be getting more for it than he could in a 1-year lease. But we gotta estimate at 1 year. So I would say $1,600 here, $1,600 there. Now the 2 1s, okay, he's saying that he's getting $2,300, and that's right with our median. That is right with our median that we actually say that, you know, he could actually get, as you guys can see right here. But again, being that this property's kind of been chopped up, I don't know what the insides look like. And because they're 6-month leases, I want to say that for a long-term lease, maybe you're able to get about $2,100. Okay. Now let's not go away, because I think that at this price, this property is still worth looking at. Okay. It's just going to be a little bit less than what we originally had thought. All right. Now he did say that there's a studio. All right. And a studio in Miami could, you know, give you another $1,000 boost. So let's put it on here at the last one. Let's put $2,600 here. Brings us back up to, again, to about $8,400. All right. Now, before I go any further, guys, this could be a bottleneck for you guys when it comes to getting financing. Okay. FHA, just forget about it. It's not going to work because they're going to say, hey, it's legally a duplex. And especially if this guy put kitchens in the 1-1s, they're going to say there's 4 kitchens. This is supposed to have only 2 kitchens. They're going to make a big fuss out of it. You would need to buy this using conventional financing or cash, okay? And then again, you want to look at the kind of quality of the construction that they did to divide these things up, or if it's hodgepodge and you're just going to run into issues. So right off the bat, I don't like it because of this reason, but I mean, it could make financial sense for somebody, right? Let's go ahead and let's look at the returns on investment this property could give you just as it is. And yeah, it could totally crush the S&P, okay? Any way that you look at it, except don't look at it in FHA because you can't do FHA with this one. But if you use a 10% down payment or a 25% down payment, you'll get returns that are way better than the S&P. All right, if we go here a little bit more, you can see what you need to buy, what you need to put down to get this property is 10%, which is about $100,000. Over the life of this property, it'll give you back almost $3 million. So you give $100,000 and you get back $2.8 million basically. I think that that's a fair trade. That's a fair swap. Okay. Now, cash flow. Like I mentioned, guys, this property will probably cash flow, or definitely cash flows on day one using a 25% down payment. If you use a 10% down payment, you would cash flow after just about 3 years. Mind you, guys, keep this in mind. This is when I underwrite for properties on this channel, I'm always underwriting and accounting for 5% in vacancies, okay, 5% in regular repairs and maintenance, and 5% in capital expenditures like your roof, your AC. So it means that every single month you're grabbing 15% of your rent and you're putting it away for all these different things. All right. And you can see here kind of like the graph, right? How it kind of like the bottom one is FHA, like it would take almost 5 years for it to cash flow. And then you can see the 10%. 10% is this jump here, guys. And you're probably wondering, why does the 10% down payment guy have this jump in money all of a sudden? And that's because that's the time, based on the numbers, where you're going to be able to drop your PMI, right? And so that's your mortgage insurance protection, right? Or your MIP or whatever. Yeah. So it basically, the way that it works is when you have a loan and you get a loan from the bank and you don't have at least 20% equity, right? If you don't put at least 20% down, the bank is going to say like, hey, like if you lose this property, there's not enough money of your money down where I feel safe. So I need you to pay an insurance. I need you to pay an insurance until you at least have 20% equity in the house. And so once you do get that 20%, it drops. And the reason that that doesn't happen for FHA is because you put so little money down, you only put 3.5% down to buy it, that FHA, the way that that loan is structured, does not allow you to drop the PMI. You would need to refinance the whole house, okay? Which you can. I mean, I'm about to do it on one of mine, so you could definitely do that. But you can see here, guys, right? You would be cash flow negative, right? About $460 per month on year one. By year 10 though, right, you're making about $2,100 a month, right? By year 30, you're making $8,000 a month. And year 31, you're gonna be making as much as the cash guy is. So you're probably gonna be making $14,500, okay? For your one-time investment, okay, guys? So again, does the property have the ability to create wealth for you? Yes, it does. Even if you use 10%, even if you use FHA. And why is that, guys? Because property does something that S&P will never do, all right? It gives you cash, right? That cash that, you know, like if you're cash flowing, if you put 25% down and it gives you, you know, and it's cash flowing, it's actually money that's going to be hitting your bank every single month. But even if it's not cash flowing, right? Even if you're having to pay towards it, the tenants are also helping you pay down the principal, okay? So it's creating wealth in a piggy bank, right? It's putting money in your pocket in a piggy bank that you can't touch, all right? So that's one. Two, the house is actually going to appreciate itself. So with inflation, right, as it goes on, prices are going to continue to go up. And so your house is going to appreciate as well, especially in Miami. All these really important people are moving to Miami right now. If you guys don't know, look it up, okay? Ken Griffin, Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like the Google guys, like everybody's moving to Miami right now, and it's a big deal. So your properties are probably going to appreciate. This whole thing that's happening in New York City with the crazy taxes and the crazy mayor that they have, right? It's going to drive more people down here, and this property is going to appreciate, God willing. All right, and then the last one is going to have tax advantages too. So while this property might not cash flow for the 10% down payment buyer, it will create wealth for him. Okay. Now we can look at other things like these stats, but you guys will have to let me know during the chat that you guys want to see that stuff. So with that being said, guys, I would give this property, let me see its potential returns. Yeah, so if you don't mind having a property, the only thing here, guys, is also, right, like if you're well with this property and now you try to sell it, right? So talking about exit strategy, and you try to sell it, just keep in mind that you're not going to be able to sell it to an FHA buyer. You're going to need to sell it to a conventional, somebody with a conventional loan, right? And that's willing to overlook the fact that it's a duplex operating as a quad, right? Could you get in trouble for operating it as a quad? Yeah, you probably could also get in trouble for operating it as a quad, especially if they added bathrooms, if they added kitchens, if they added this stuff, the city could come and bust you down. So you could also run into those problems. And so for that reason, guys, I wouldn't invest in it. But if you don't mind like overlooking all that stuff, then this could be a potential B property, okay, a C to B property as terms of you know, just return on your money. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and describe this one. Let's look at the next property, guys. All right. So we are here. Let's make sure to reset everything here. Okay. So. $635,000, $123,000 duplex in Miami-Dade County, currently paying $7,675 a month in taxes. Square feet, it's not that big, 1620, okay? Total rent, they said they're getting $4,800 a month, okay? Now it's a duplex, so they're saying that they're getting 2,000, well, they're probably 221s, okay? But let's take a look at the pictures. I like the tile roof. The question is if it's new or if it's just repainted. But it looks nice. I mean, the property looks really pretty. Nice little backyard. I'm not a fan of the power lines just because tenants are not a fan of power lines either. You saw separate meters, guys? Important to note that, right? It's good to see. Okay, central AC, that's nice. Okay, and on the inside, it's awesome. Okay, guys. So, yeah, I think there's a bunch of more pictures there, but we're going to say that's enough. Let's look at the guts of this deal. So it's 221s. Okay. Excellent opportunity to own an income-producing duplex in the heart of Miami. The property features two units generating strong rental income. One currently rented at $2,300 a month and the other one at $2,500 a month. Both units have separate electric meters. All right. All right. The question, guys, is, first of all, this looks like a single-family home. Let's make sure that it's actually a duplex. Okay, so it's multifamily. Yep, 2 units, 2 bedroom, 2 bath each. Right? This guy says that there are 2 ones. So he doesn't even know the property that he listed. But according to county records, there's 4 bedrooms and 4 baths in the house. Maybe they grabbed one of the bathrooms and they turned into a wash dryer, washer dryer or laundry room. So anyway, guys, $2,500 and $2,300 for 2 ones. $2,500 and $2,200 and $2,300. Now, that's 0.76 on the 1% rule. And it just about gets to 125% of your mortgage, right? Your debt service coverage ratio. All right, now let's do a rent check really quick. Okay, now our rent check says, right? Let's go next on the 1% rule. Whoops. Sorry, guys. All right, the 1% rule. We're at $4,800. He says that we're doing the rent check right now. The 2-1 we have here at the median is $2,300. And that's actually what he rented it out for. So that's good. And then the other one's $2,500. Well, guys, given the condition of the property and the way that it looks, I could see this guy actually getting $2,500 for the property. So I'm going to say that it actually passes the rent check. Okay. So we're going to go here. We're going to go ahead. Sorry, this is a next. It passes. Let's look at the return on investment here, guys. All right, our return on investments are barely there, okay? The one that gets the best return on investment here would actually be a 10% down payment, okay? And it would give you 11.2% over the life of the property, right? It's not gonna be right away because I have a feeling that this property is gonna start you off bleeding, okay? But over the long run, over 30 years, it should perform better than the S&P on average, okay? And let's actually look at our cash flow. And so, yeah, that's right. The only way that this property makes any sense in terms of cash flow would be to give a 25% down payment on it. Now, this property would cash flow after 6.5 years with a 10% down payment, but it wouldn't even make sense, guys. As pretty as it is, and I think that you would get FHA financing for this just because of the quality of the product, right? It would take you 12 years to start seeing some cash flow coming out of this property. And that's if you continue, that's if you move out of it and rent it out completely, right? After a year, which you could do with FHA. But you can see it here, guys. For that reason, I would say that, like, as far as, it passes the rent check, okay? The return on the S&P compared to the S&P itself, I would say that it's let's evaluate the next thing. As far as cash flow is concerned, it's middle of the line. It's not like a clear winner. Now, does it create wealth? Can this property create wealth? We're going to come down here. And yeah, the property could create wealth, okay? This property can create wealth. It's something that this property can do, but I mean, we've seen better. And so for that reason, guys, it's 2 passes, like 3 next. I would say that this property is a C. Again, especially because more than anything, and you guys will see me do this, it's going to come back down to these numbers, right? Are you going to be able to just put it in the S&P? You could, right? Even if you increase these rents to $2,500 here, okay? you're at 12%. Now, how can you make this deal a little bit better? I think that you could probably bring this guy down maybe to 600,000. Okay. And at that point, this property could be closer to a B deal. Okay. You would get past 125. It'd be easier for you to get a loan. 0.83 on the 1% rule. Okay. You would cash flow, after less than 4 years with a 10% down payment, but it would take a long time still with FHA. And even if interest rates were to go to 4.5, you wouldn't cash flow right away with FHA, right? And we've seen so many properties that if interest rates were to drop to 4.5, cash flow the same freaking day. So you would need to bring this guy back down to probably 550. Yeah. So you would bring the guy down to 550, then this deal could make a lot more sense. And then it could be a deal that's like a B, probably an A if interest rates were to drop. So, but we're not there, guys. The way that it currently sits, this property for us, it's a C property. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to discard it, and we are going to keep on moving. Okay. Next up, let's put it on the calculator. It's a $639,000 triplex. Oh, sorry, $639,900, sorry. Triplex in Miami-Dade County. They're currently paying $5,712 a year in taxes. Mind you guys, if you buy this at $639,000, your taxes are basically going to double. All right, but your lender will underwrite your deal more than likely using this number, and so we're going to use the same number. 1678, okay, square feet. So this is not big. It's probably 221s as well. They don't tell us the rent, okay. Oh wait, it's a triplex according to them, but it's in flood zone X, so it's in the best kind of flood zone you could be in. All right, stark difference, right? Can you guys tell the difference between the last property and this property? Look at the quality of like the floors, the walls. I mean, at least the tenant is organized. Kudos to the tenant, whoever lives there. Might be an OnlyFans person, but you keep it clean. Yeah, really, really clean. But window ACs, like this kind of stuff, gives you an idea of the product that you're dealing with here. Of property, not a big fan of it. Okay, yeah. So it could be updated, this property. Ah, man, they put 53 pictures. I'm not going to go through the 53 pictures, guys. It's like... Or maybe I am. Yikes. Bro, if you're going to sell something, guys, if you buy a property and you're going to sell it, if you really want to sell it, like if you really, really want to sell it, sometimes people don't want to sell properties. They just throw it out there to see what they got. But if you really want to sell it, dude, pressure wash the driveway. Like you could pay like Timmy, like $50, and he'll do it for you in one afternoon, right? Mulch the freaking tree, right? Cut these like ugly little things here that you got. Put some mulch, like it'll make the property look so much better. You would get so much more interest. Pressure clean your driveway, bro. Pressure clean the sidewalk. I know it might not be your responsibility. You might think, oh, it's the city's responsibility. No, it's your responsibility. You want to sell the property? Pressure wash it. All right, so here's the layout. Okay. Is this one unit? All right, primary bedroom. 3 bedrooms. Living room, kitchen. Is this a single family home that they're trying to pass off as a triplex? Oh man, I really hope not. All right, let's look at the guts of this deal, guys. I'm starting to have doubts. Property is being used as a triplex. Dude, Francis Ragu, you should hang up your license. No, I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. All right, let's look at this folio and see if it is a single family home. No, it's actually it's a multi-unit. Okay, it's zone multi-unit. It's a duplex. It has 4 bedrooms and 2 baths, okay? But it's being used as a triplex. Well, guys, I could only really go off of because this guy doesn't give us any more information apart from that one drawing, right? Apart from that one drawing. And let's see, where's the entrance? I can't see it. That's a bedroom, that's a laundry. So do you come in through the laundry room? Or no, screen porch, living room, okay, kitchen, okay, the first bathroom for the guest. Then you use this hallway, and then there's another bedroom, a primary bedroom, and a bath. So it's really weird. Maybe he uploaded like the floor plan for a different house that he's selling. All right, guys. So I have to take this as face value, right? Because we don't get any more information from the city. This guy doesn't give us any more information, but we do know that it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath total. So I'm going to say that there's two 1s in here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do our quick little rent check here. And 2 1s in Miami Dade on average are $2,300. That's what the other guy was getting for those really nice ones. What do you guys think that this guy would get for this? Maybe $2,000 for one, and then maybe $1,800 for the other one. So $3,800. Guys, $3,800 divided by $639,000. I don't think that it's anywhere close to 1%. It's probably close to like 0.6% or something. Yep, there you go. 0.59, 0.59. All right. It would barely pay for your mortgage. And again, guys, banks want to see that you're going to be able to do more than that. All right. So it doesn't really pass the rents because we need to verify those. Okay. They don't give us any information. Does it pass on the return on the investment? No, it crashes and burns on this investment. And does it pass here? No, even if you put a 25% down payment on this property, it would be over 8.5 years before you saw a dime come out of this property into your bank account that you could count on. So for that reason, guys, this property is a hard fail just across the line, and we're going to go ahead and discard it. Oh, but before that, guys, and sorry, let me go back really quick. Oh, can't go back. Well, we'll go back later. I just wanted to go through and put everything as red because, man, it just, when people put properties like that, it's not good. All right, next property up. Let's put it on the calculator here. $720,000 duplex. Okay, in Miami-Dade County. They're currently paying $9,426 a year in taxes. How big is it? 2,003 square feet. They say they're getting $3,400 a month in rent. And guys, I mean, you guys could already do the math here, guys. This is going to be less than a 0.5 on the 1% rule, okay? And that's just terrible, right? But let's make sure, let's give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Oh, it's also on flood AE. Flood zone AE is not the best. You're going to pay a little bit of a premium for that. Let's look at the quality of the product. Okay, so it looks nice, okay? Very boxy, but nice. Okay, it looks like it's like out of that Minecraft game. It's got like these commercial golf course, cheap golf course like privacy fences. Put a bunch of gravel down. And it's pretty. They at least had the wherewithal to like paint it and make it look really nice for the pictures. On the inside, it's nice too. Not a big fan of having mini splits, but it's okay. Okay, the bathrooms are a little dated, but they're clean. You can see this grout line is so dirty, guys. You might need to replace it. And I don't know what's going on over here. Is that a light or is it like a... I don't know what that is. Okay. All right, let's look at the guts of this deal and see what is going on. Income producing duplex with triplex potential and prime Miami location. Excellent opportunity to own a cash flowing duplex in the heart of Miami's growing Alapata area. The property features 2 1-1s with a den, okay? And the den could be turned into a second bedroom, maximizing both usability and rental potential. Both units are currently occupied, generating $3,400 a month in rental income. Current rents are $1,700 per unit, below market value, offering immediate upside through rental increases. The property has undergone extensive recent improvements, including Full exterior stucco and paint, roof improvements in 2025, level backyard, yada, yada, yada. So they put a bunch of lipstick on the pig. That's what they're telling us, okay? And they're saying that each one is rented for $1,700, okay? So 1,700 and 1,700. So guys, this, I usually want to say like, hey, this is gonna like, let's look at the rents. But this is failing pretty freaking hard on the 1% rule, okay? It's failing hard. So the potential for the rents is gonna have to like blow my mind for me to reconsider this, okay? So let's take a look at that. Meanwhile, I'll leave you here with a picture so you guys can see it while we do this analysis. All right, Miami Dade, 1-1s. The median is $1,600, okay? It's a growing area, but it's not like Coral Gables. It's not like the most desirable area when you're, looking for tenants that are going to pay premium rent. Okay, guys. So, do I think that $1,700 is doable? Yes. Do I think it's close to the top of what this property can produce? Yes. I don't think that this property could produce a whole lot more than $1,700 a month in rent. Otherwise, homie would be getting it. Okay, he'd be getting that higher rent. All right. So you could get higher rents if you do short-term leases. Maybe you could get higher rents if you do Airbnb, but that's a lot of management and that's a lot of money. Those are a lot of expenses that go within doing that short-term stuff. So we're going to keep it at $1,700. And again, guys, the rent check, I would say passes. Okay. But the 1% rule, hard fail. Hard fail. And what does that translate in terms of your return on your investment? A freaking 2%. Bro, you guys could put the money in the bank and it would do pretty much better than that. So it fails that. Cash flow, guys. I mean, you guys are getting the hang of this already. Like cash flow, dude, when the calculator tells you NA, it's basically programmed where, well, actually I didn't program that part. Otherwise it would say like never, or it would say 30 plus years. But basically what it says is that this property, if you put a 10% down payment or if you buy this using FHA, it will actually never produce cash for you as long as you have your mortgage. So basically for 30 years, this property would never put money back in your pocket, okay? And so you can see it here, guys. So for that reason, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna fail it on the cash flow test as well. And if we come down here, you guys can see it here. Jesus, it's scary. You can see right here, right? This is the FHA line. You can see that it never passes zero, right? And even the 10% one, it comes close to it, but it never passes zero. Now, mind you guys, the month after your 360th payment or whatever, after 30 years, right? Your cash flow will go from down here to like up here, right? Because now it's free and clear. But I mean, you can see here, guys, even year 30, you're going to be putting $1,000 out of your own pocket every month to keep this property if you buy it. And this property is actually one of the few properties that destroy wealth, right? It'll destroy wealth for you however you buy it, 10%, 25% FHA. And so for that reason, guys, this property is a big fail, a big fail. So we're going to go ahead, discard this property, and we're going to keep looking. All right, where were we? Let's go here. Let's go there. And discard this property. Let's reset our stuff. And let's plug it here on the calculator. All right, next up, guys, it's a $700,000, a $699,900 triplex. Okay, in Broward County, currently paying $11,236 a year in taxes. Square feet, it's not that big for a triplex, 1,972 square feet. Let's see what it can do. They're saying that it could make $6,600 a month in rent, guys. And if that's the case, this property is not going to look too bad. Okay, 0.94, the highest of I think the week. All right. 142% of your mortgage this property could pay. Banks would love you if you could verify the rents. So let's go ahead, let's do that. It's interesting that they don't put a picture here, right? So like there's no pictures for the property, but guess what, guys? That's better for us because it means that usually buyers are not gonna want to like, they're not gonna look through all this stuff. They're not gonna do this due diligence. And Zillow, when there's no pictures, it doesn't really like, push that, the algorithm won't push their listing. So let's look at it. Okay, it's in Hollywood, Florida. Good area. 3 units in tremendous condition. I hope tremendous means good. Okay. 1 efficiency, 2 2-1s, and 2 2-bedroom, 1 bath. 1 2-bedroom apartment kept vacant for potential user to qualify for FHA or VA. Oh, how thoughtful. Dude, my question is, who the hell writes these remarks? Dude, like, you would think that with like the little business that there are for real estate agents, the ones that are left are like the top, the creme of the creme, but you're never surprised by agents. All right. So that being said, guys, let's see. They're saying for the studio, right? That their studio, they're able to get $1,150. Whoops, $1,150 a month in rent. For the 2-1, they said they're able to get $2,650. Wow. And they say that for the other 2-1, they're able to get $2,800. Holy moly. That's a lot of money. Let's see if we could find some historical pictures of this property. Because I mean it's gonna have to be baller. Okay, here's some. It's nice. Floor, I mean, but it's not like, it's nothing, it's nothing amazing. Look at these floorboards, like these baseboards. These baseboards are from like the 70s. Like they haven't changed them. The neighbor's right next door across from me on the fence, which is typical for Hollywood. The bathrooms are old. They haven't been renovated. Okay. He's got like, the 2, a twin size like dorm style beds here. That's a full size bed at best. Why is there a fan? Is it that hot? Like, is the AC working well? I hate to tear apart a property that we found that kind of makes sense, but you got to wonder, just look at the product. Is the laundry shared? It kind of feels like it's shared. Box ACs. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Let's see if we could see the property itself. Okay. All right, here are the pictures of the actual property, guys. I found them, even though this agent didn't put them. Like these pictures, bro, they're hilarious. Like, we're not buying the China, bro. We're trying to buy the freaking house. Okay. In-unit washer dryer. That's nicer. Still the same old bathroom. All right, guys. I think we've seen enough. So with that being said, we're going to go back here, right? I'm going to leave it there. And then we're going to look at we're going to do a rent check. Okay. Because they say that for the studio, right? That they're able to get $1,150. Well, I haven't seen this studio, but I could say that, I could see them getting $1,150 for the studio. Now, this is the part that I don't believe at all, guys. That for the 2-1, in that condition with a box AC with stackable units, that they're getting $2,650, and that the other one that they're getting $2,800. Dude, you guys could get, I mean, for $200 more, you could get a condo in downtown Miami for $2,800. You could definitely get a condo, right, in some kind of like high-rise building in downtown Hollywood or nearby. So I don't believe them with these rents. I think that these rents at best are probably closing in on like $2,150, okay? At best, okay? And if that's the case, then that changes the numbers quite a bit. I think it's still not a terrible deal, but it's not as awesome as we first thought. Okay. So it doesn't pass the rent check, right? And that's already a red flag, because for us, like somebody telling us like, hey, this property could achieve all this, and it actually not achieving it, is something to be concerned of. But it's not a big reason to like just discard the property, right? I think that on the 1% rule, you know, it could be something worth analyzing a little bit further. Now, on the return on investment, where does this property sit? Okay, if this is what it's actually producing, where does this property sit? And so let's go here. And you could see, using a 10% down payment and 25% down payment, it barely matches the S&P. Okay, it barely matches the S&P. So that for me is already not sitting very good. Okay, I would say that, you know, we could keep analyzing it, but it's not looking good. Okay. Now, in terms of cash flow, where does this property sit in terms of cash flow? Okay, it wouldn't even cash flow on year one with a 25% down payment. Okay, and so for me, guys, that's a big, big X. So it doesn't pass that. Is the property able to create wealth? Okay. You can see here all the cash flow metrics are just negative. Well, the property is able to create wealth, okay? But it's not wealth at a number that we love. So for that, we'll also say this. And so for this property, guys, even though it looked great at first, it actually turns out that this property is a bit of a stinker. Is a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, it's a duplex, but it's being sold as a triplex. Like the rents are like very, very high for what it actually is. They don't really give us many more pictures, right? The pictures from the before, like they don't seem like a quality of product that you would pay so much rent for. And so for all of those things put together, I would go ahead, I would leave this property maybe as a C minus, but I would just keep it moving. And so again, this is a property that they did not show us any pictures for, and we're going to go ahead and discard it. Okay. One quick second, guys. Okay, down to our last 6 properties, guys. This next property is $689,000 triplex in Miami Dade, currently paying $7,755 a year in taxes. Square feet, 2,102 square feet. So it's all right. It's not bad for, you know, I guess a triplex. If it's over 2,000, like it's okay. All right. Let's see. Let's look at the pictures, guys. Let's look at the quality of the product that we have here. All right. So I like the fence. I like the fact that it has a fence. I like did they take the fridge out and not put it back? Why would you do that and then take the picture? Interesting. Okay, but it's not terrible. It's not like super updated, but it's not bad either. There's only 6 pictures here that we could go off of, guys, which again could be a good thing for us if the numbers make sense. Okay, they say it's a triplex, but is it really? Let's look at these county records. And no, it's a duplex. It's a duplex, and it looks like it's 2 separate buildings. Yeah. And they have all this. I like that they have all this work that's documented. You usually don't see that. So these folks, I mean, that gives you an idea. It probably has a good maintenance record. They took care of the property. So this property features 3 fully independent units. Units 1 and 2 are each 2-bedroom, 1-bath residences within a duplex. The third is a separate 1-bedroom, 1-bath space attached to the property, complete with its own private entrances. All units offer independence and complete privacy for their occupants. The third unit, a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, is currently rented for $1,100. I like that this guy puts these rents this way: $1,800 here, $1,800 there, and that he says that the last one is rented for $1,100. Okay, so that's $4,700, guys. Now, out of $687,000, where does that sit? That's just shy of 0.7, which is usually our cutoff on the 1% rule, right? And again, it's also right on the cutoff for where a bank would lend you money. Usually banks want to see that the rents are going to be able to cover 110% at least of the mortgage payment, okay? So that gives us an idea that the property would probably pay for itself using DSCR, but that's about it, guys. All right, now let's do a quick rent check. Now, they say that it's in Broward County, or sorry, no, this one's in Miami-Dade, okay? And it's 221s, okay? Now, the 2-1s, and now here's the interesting part for this property, guys. Median for 2-1s is $2,300, and he's only renting them out at $1,800, okay? Now, this might be somebody that's been holding onto this property for a long time, but this might be somewhere, this property might be something worth looking into, okay? Because maybe this guy really likes, and I come across these people all the time, right? They maintain their property very, very well. They take care of their tenants. For the same reason, they're not very comfortable raising the rents, right? They just want to keep good tenants. They already paid the house off. The house is paid off sometimes. Look at the taxes. They're so cheap, right? Or they're getting the money that they need. So why stress it, right? They just leave rents the same way. So this is a property where you might be incentivized, right? I would, to go in and say like, hey, what are the rents in the area? Could I actually get more rent for this kind of a product, right? Because in Miami-Dade, the median for a 2-1 is $2,300. And if you could get $2,300 for each side, now your total rent is at $5,700, and all of a sudden the property is looking a whole lot better, okay? Now, so if we could do that, right? Look at what we could actually get here on the interest rates, okay? These are like C plus, like B plus, I think, returns on your investment here, all right? Probably C plus. You would cash flow on day one with a 25% down payment, okay? But now here's the real gold of this, okay? We're not gonna tell a seller that. We're gonna tell a seller this. Hey, Mr. Seller, I would love to buy this house. I really, really like it. You take care of it so very well. You know, I'm an investor. I'd like to put 25, even if you're not gonna, you know, if you're gonna buy this FHA, you could tell them this. Like, hey, I wanna buy this using a 25% down investor loan, right? But the bank requires me, right? The bank requires, like, so it's not your fault, right? The bank requires me to have at least 125% to show that the rents make at least 125% of the mortgage, right? And honestly, like, you know, I see that you can't get more than $1,800, right? And so I need this price to come down, right? The only other lever that I have to buy your property is to adjust this price, right? And so where would you need to adjust this price for this guy to give you this property, right? So let's play with it. I think that at $4,700, 25, you need to make that, all right? So I would say maybe like, let's try 600K at 120. So 575, 124, 570. So you could come back to this guy and say like, hey, Mr. Seller, I can buy this property from you, right? Using these rents, right? I really like it, but I need the purchase price to be at least at 570 for me to make this deal work, right? And now you kind of like throw it off like, hey, look, dude, like I want to work with you, but like your property, the way that you're running it, like I can't get any more than 570. And now mind you guys, if you guys go and do the homework, right? And you do the homework and you could find out that you could actually get $2,300 for it. If the seller agrees to sell it to you for 570, right? And now you could come back and you could raise these rents to $2,300 after you got this property, right? Look where you're at, guys. You're at the 1% rule, okay? You're at the 1% rule. DSCR, the bank would be happier than, you know, and shit. Like your return on your investment, 25%, okay? Cash flow, you would cash flow on day one using 10%, 25%. And if interest rates were to go down like in a couple of months or like in a year to 4.5%, you could cash flow the day that you finish signing on those refi paperwork, okay? So I think that this property, the way that it currently sits, oh, let's finish looking at all this stuff, right? So does it create wealth? Yeah, of course it creates freaking wealth, dude. At that point, right? Of course it does. Now, if you could get this guy to lower his price to 570, and if you are able to increase, and obviously before you get this guy all hot, right, trying to negotiate down to 570, try to make sure that you could actually get median rents for in this particular area, in this particular neighborhood where this house is at, okay? And make sure to get a lease for the guy paying $1,100 to make sure that you could actually rent that out for $1,100 too. Shoot, maybe you could rent that out for more, you never know. But if you could actually prove this and get this guy to decrease his price to 570, look how much money, right? You would be, if you buy this using FHA and you move out after just a year, you would only pay $100 a year to keep this property, okay? And by year 10, right, this property would be paying you $1,000, okay, per month, all right? That's not bad, all right? And if you're able to refinance before then, and I don't know, to a 4.5% interest rate, look how much money you're making now per month. That's $6,000 a year in passive income, okay? So again, I think that this property, the way that it currently sits, right, at 1,100 here, and that he wants, how much he wants? $690 for it? $689? This property is yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. This property is a D, almost an F. But because the price range is accessible, and because I think that there's more upside to this rent, we might be able to get a really good deal on this property. So I would say that this is one that like is worth just doing further investigation for, okay? So I would say that it's whoops, sorry guys. I would say that it's just if we reset this property, I would say, let me see. I would say that this $889,000 duplex, even though that it's a D, just the way that it sits because of the rent that it collects, it doesn't really pass on the 1% rule. It actually fails it because these rents are actually, I think, understated and you could get a lot more, right? I think that all of these things, even though right now it's next or fail, okay? Actually on the cash flow, it's a fail. On the creates wealth, it's a barely a next, right? But because the rents have a huge potential, right? I think that this property could go anywhere from a D, and I rarely say this, but this property could go from a D to an A, okay? All right? So, and that's just the way that real estate is, right? You would need to make sure that, you know, you could get those higher rents. You would need to negotiate that price using that excuse that his rents, you know, just don't give for financing that substantiates his asking price. And then once he goes away and it's now your property, you raise those rents to the market, and hopefully in the future you refinance too, and then you have one amazing freaking deal. So that being said, guys, the way that it sits right now, it's a C to a D. And so we're gonna go ahead and look at the next property right now. But again, that's and just going back on this, this is the homework that most people don't do, right? They're told like, hey, like all of these things would need to happen. But the first thing is just try to make sure that the rents are going to be higher. And it just, people get like mind blown at all the things that they have to do. Like, oh my God, I'm going to have to negotiate, and I'm going to have to like refinance, and I'm going to have to do this. Yeah, we're talking about like a period here of like 2-3 years maybe, right? But the first step is just go out there and verify the freaking rents. Because if at the end of the day, all you could really get is $1,800 for that property, for H21, if that's really the market, then it's a junk property and you throw it away. All right, guys, next property up, we're down to 5. Let's try to run through these. Okay, it's getting a little late. So we're gonna expand this. All right, first, let's put the numbers in the calculator. $650,000 fourplex, okay, in Miami-Dade County. Taxes, $11,991 a year in taxes. Square feet, 2,131 square feet. Rent, they are saying that they're getting $4,400 a month in rent. Okay, now, what flood zone are they in? A, H, and X. So you're gonna pay a bit of a premium for that. Let's look at the property. It's gated, which is nice. Okay. It's got private parking. Okay. Shared laundry. Tenants don't like that. Okay, and it's in a corner lot, and we only get 3 pictures. All right. So it is a fourplex, they say, 4-bedroom, 4-bath. All right, and they're getting $1,100 for each one of the 1-1s. Okay, it's in Miami Dade. It's a short sale, and it's unapproved. Okay, so they're trying to sell it for less money than what they bought it from the bank for. Let's make sure that it's a multifamily. It is. Let's see. 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, 4 units. Do they say how much they bought it for here? Interesting. Okay. So unapproved short sale. So they're trying to get rid of it because the bank's going to take it over. But it's not because mortgage amount, 346. Okay. So it is worth doing a little bit of homework, but the good thing is that he's stressed. For us, for the buyer, it's a good thing because the guy is stressed. And so we might be able to get a good deal on this property, okay? Because he wants to really sell it right away before the bank takes over it, okay? Unfortunately, what we know is that it's nowhere near the 1% rule, right? If he's getting $1,100 a month in rent for each one of these, right? It's not going to be enough to even pay for the mortgage. So again, we can use the same strategy with this guy to try to bring that price down. But let's see in Miami-Dade what 1-1s go for. Okay, the median is $1,600. Now we don't have any real pictures of the inside, and that's kind of scary. And that's maybe the reason that he's getting pretty much close to the minimum that you could get for 1-1s in Miami-Dade in multifamily housing, residential multifamily, right? So with that being said, guys, this is another one where you want to check out the rents in the area. You want to look at the property. You want to call your real estate agent. You want to tell them like, hey, give me the closed rents. You tell them that stuff. The closed rents, okay, within a quarter mile of this property for 1-1s. And just make sure that, you know, the property kind of looks like this property or is close to it. And then that gives you an idea of where you could raise those rents to. Given that the product also looks like that other product. Yeah. The thing here, guys, right? Because like, yeah, it's not going to pass, right? I think that there's potential upside with the rent, okay? But it's not going to pass as it is. It's an F on the return on investment. It's an F in terms of cash flow. It's an F even in terms of like creating wealth, okay? It's an F across the board. But when prices are a little bit lower, and if you're able to say that, dude, you could raise these to $1,450 each, okay? All of a sudden, this deal could become a lot nicer, okay? A lot freaking nicer. So again, this is another one of those deals where you need to do your homework. You need to go out there and look at the rents for that specific location where that property sits, and within maybe like 1/10 of a mile, like 2-3 blocks around it, okay? Like look for that location for other 1-1s. We know that it's 2,131 square feet, okay? If you divide that by 4, it's like 525 square feet or whatever, or 530 square feet, okay? So try to find other 1-1s with 540 square feet that share a laundry, okay? And then see what they're charging in rents. And because if you could get $1,450 for it, dude, all of a sudden this property makes a lot more sense. And if you could use the same excuses before, like, hey, look, dude, like, gotta help me out with the purchase price here. Gotta drop this to 500. No? All of a sudden, this is starting to look like a way better freaking deal. And then in the future, if you could say like, hey, I can refinance this, then it's a home freaking run, okay? So again, this is another property that's an F, but might be a potential to be an A or A plus, depending on the homework that you do the due diligence that you got to get started. So with that said, guys, we're going to go ahead and discard this property too. And look at our next property. Okay. So this one is in Hollywood. And it's $599,000. Okay, they're currently paying $8,558 a year in taxes. Interest rates, let's put this back where it currently it's at, 6.3. Square feet, 2,264 square feet. And they're saying that they're getting $4,000 a month in rent. Now, that puts it at a 0.67%, and it just covers your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, your debt, right? That service coverage ratio would be 100% here. But let's see the quality. Let's see if there's any upside to this property. Okay, so it's among other duplexes, okay? I usually prefer to buy like duplexes where there's like single family home, duplex, you know, single family home, duplex. But on the inside, it's okay. It's dated. Dirt at best, mold at worst. Dated. This unit's a little bit nicer. The tenants are a little cleaner. Okay. Let's look at the guts of this deal. So it's 222s, each one making $2,000 in Central Hollywood. Well-maintained duplex, features 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Each lease has $2,000. Okay. Separate electric meters and central AC, adding efficiency and tenant appeal. All right, guys. Well, a 2-2 should be renting out for more money than this, but it depends on the neighborhood as well. So this is another one where you might want to check it out, but just the way that it currently sits, it doesn't make any sense. You would need to bring this down to, I don't know, bring this guy down to at least 500,000, I would say. Okay, and it might start making a little bit more sense, but not even there. Okay, so yeah, maybe like 450. And then maybe try to raise the rents a little bit. But this property is just, for the condition that it's in, right? Yeah, it just doesn't look quite on point. Okay, and it's a septic tank, so okay, you have to deal with that. Yeah. So, I mean, at best, a two in that area could bring you $2,500. Okay. If it brings you $2,500, all of a sudden it's starting to look a little bit better. You could get a mortgage on it. Okay. Your interest rates would look, you know, C-ish. You could cash flow on day one using a 25% down payment, but that would mean that you would need to increase the rents by 25%, guys. Right? And how are you going to be able to do it if the current guy didn't do it? But again, you know, this is where the due diligence part takes place. I could only analyze it for you guys, you know, especially with doing this every single day at night. If you guys want me to, let me know, and then we could do a longer show. We'll start earlier. And if it's close, we'll jump into the area and we'll look at that. I think it'll be fun. But just the way it currently sits right now, guys, it doesn't make any sense for me. And so this property is another, it's another F property, right? If you come down here on actually creating wealth, you can see that it destroys wealth for any FHA or 10% buyer, and barely creates one for if you're buying it with 25% down payment. So we're gonna go ahead, discard this property and keep on going. Down to 3 properties, guys. And then this one is a big one. $3 million, dude. Let's go here. 2.990000, all right, dollars. They're currently paying $10,649 a year in taxes, which, believe me, if you buy for $3 million, that will like quadruple. All right, square feet, 11,652 square feet, but they're saying that they're only collecting $3,250 a year a month in rent. So I hope that these guys found oil underneath their property, because I don't see any other way that this property makes any freaking sense. All right, let's take a look at let's take a look at this, dude. Like, let's look at the pictures. Okay, so there's a Tessie in the driveway. What is that? Oh, canal. That's it? You're selling that for $3 million and that's it? All right, let's look at the guts of this. A portfolio of 6 consecutively positioned side-by-side homes offered in a single package. Yeah, dude, but no. He's saying that for each one, he's getting $3,250. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what it looks like if we actually do this. We would get $13,000 a month. It's a 0.43% on the 1% rule. You would need to come up with 25%, right, of the mortgage if you actually wanted to buy this, and that's putting 25% down payment. So you're to have this property, guys. I mean, this is probably the worst deal of the day. If you bought this using a 25% down payment, you would still have to make about a $6,400 or $6,400 payment to the bank every single month. And that's if it's completely freaking leased. So for that reason, guys, this is a hot F. I don't think that we even have to go through the deals or through the property itself. So we're just gonna put it up here and we are gonna assign it Fs all across the board. It fails there, it fails on the S&P, it fails on the cash flow, okay? And it definitely fails on creating wealth, all right? And so for that reason, guys, we're gonna keep it moving and look at our second to last property. All right, let's put this up on the calculator. 469 grand. Okay, duplex in Broward County, currently paying $12,452 a year in taxes. Square feet wise, 2,090 square feet. Okay, let's look at the pictures here. Let's see what kind of quality of property we are buying. Okay, popcorn roof, ceiling, sorry, dated bathroom. Oof, dated and dirty kitchen. Dude, what the heck? Dated and dirty bedroom. Dated and dirty everything. Possible collection car in the back. Possible collection car in the front. But that's about it. All right, cool. Let's look at the guts of this deal. Excellent Lauderhill investment. This well-maintained duplex features 2 spacious, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Perfect, blah, 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 blah. He says that the 2 ones right now, that this one is $1,850 and it's rented on month to month, and the other one is $1,800, and it's also, well, he doesn't tell us what it's rented for. So we're gonna have to believe that it's rented also on a month to month. And guys, a 2-1 in Broward, right, should bring you around $2,300. I think that given the condition that this property is in, I believe that this is the highest that this guy can get, okay? Now, the question comes where can you, right, look at this area again and say, hey, can I increase, 2 ones, 1960. I was looking at the wrong county. So 1960, can I increase the rents? Well, if you increase the rents to just 1960, guys, it's $3,920, right? It makes it a little bit better, but it still doesn't get quite there. It doesn't get quite there. And so for that reason, right, even though it's a B, I would say, on the 1% rule, on the DSCR, it's going to be difficult for you guys to get a loan for that. It doesn't pass the rule for the S&P 500. You might as well just put your money in the S&P. You'd be better off doing that, okay? And even at 25% down payment, you wouldn't cash flow on this property until after 7 years, okay? And that's if you could increase the rents to the median. So for that reason, guys, this property is just going to be an F across the board for me. Not something really worth spending our time on. So here we go. Let me put it up here and let's go through. Yeah, the 1% rule, we saw that. it's a maybe, okay? But once we do the rent check, it doesn't make enough rent, unfortunately. On the return on the investment, right? You might as well just put your money on the S&P so it fails there. Cash flow, I mean, you can see it there, guys, on the graph. It's a hard fail on the cash flow. And does it create wealth? Like, no, guys. This property also kills wealth. Okay, kills wealth. As you can see here, guys, the first year there's no wealth created. So we're gonna go ahead, discard this property too, and keep it moving. That property at best, guys, could be a C, and that's if you do the rent, if you check the rents in the area, and you find out that you could get a little bit more. Now, this is our last property for the day, guys. It's been a long day of analysis. Let's look at this last one. Okay, so I like to look at the information here, kind of like summarized. All right, so we're looking at a $450,000 duplex in Broward County, currently paying $7,773 a year in taxes. It's $2,211. Sorry, it's 2,211 square feet. Okay, sorry, don't kill me, guys. And pictures here. Let's look at the pictures. Let's look at the quality of the product. Well, the quality of the pictures suck. The quality of the product looks, I mean, like they took it on like a Razor phone. For those of you that are old enough, damn, I'm dating myself hard. But if that's the best picture that they come up with for the property, for the inside, I'm afraid to look at the rest of the property, dude. Fudge. Okay, let's look at the guts of this deal. See what's going on. Investor opportunity. Duplex gem. Dude, this guy. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, yikes. All right, so they say that it's a 2-2 renting at $1,800 a month. Okay, and that there's a 2-1 also renting for $1,800 a month. All right, so first of all, red flag on the freaking month to month. Okay, that's a red flag, because if that's what you get on a month to month, what are you going to get on a year-long lease? Let's look at the rent checker. All right, we said this is in Fort Lauderdale, which is Broward County. 2-1s rent for on average $1,960, okay, per month. I would put this property, and just given the picture that he gave us, closer to the minimum, okay? But let's give him benefit of the doubt. Let's give him $100 over the minimum at $1,550, okay, each. That's probably what he's collecting right now. And that would make this deal not worth it at all, okay? It wouldn't pass on the 1% rule. Now, as he's stating that it currently is, right, it's a, hey, analyze the rents, but it fails the rents, guys. So that being said, even if you do get $1,960, let's suppose that you could get $1,960 for this property on each side, just as it is, without investing any more money into it, right? Where would you need to be? You would just barely be beating the S&P 500 by about a point. So this property would be a C at best in terms of return on investment. Now, you would cash flow on day one using a 25% down payment, okay? But again, you guys could see here, like it's not looking very good at all for the cash flow people, unless you're using 25% down payment. Now, the nice thing about this is the price point that he's selling it at, okay? Now, it would create some sort of wealth, okay? But where the play here is if you could get this guy, right? We agree to his rents of $1,800 a month, but tell him like, hey, dude, I need to get to 125, so I need to bring you down to, I don't know, 380, right? No, actually, I need to get you down. I need this to be 125, sir, in order for me to get a loan to buy this property. So I need to get you down to, sir, 375 maybe. Oh, it's going to be 370. Sir, if you could sell this property if you could sell this property to me for $370,000, I think we might have a deal. But before this property makes sense, guys, right? And this is a great example. Look at this property, right? You get it for $370,000. It's almost the 1% rule, right? It's the 125% on DSCR. It's looking so far so freaking great, right? But look at for how great it is on the 1% rule, how little return on investment it actually can get. It's just 12%, guys, at best, 12.5%. And you still don't cash flow, even if you buy this using FHA, which a property like this would be something that an FHA buyer would love to see at $370,000, right? Now, if you're able to increase these rents to 1960, right, each, right, it doesn't even get a whole lot better. And this is where I'm at, right? Like some properties, the price is irrelevant. What matters is how much you're getting for in these rents, right? And in this case also, because I think it's a big property, 2,211 square feet. Those are big one is a 2.2. You should be getting way more money. So if you could get more money for this and convince this guy to sell it to you for $370, right? And later on you could actually get, I don't know, $2,100 for it. Then the property would start making a lot more freaking sense. 25% return on investment. And if your interest rate, instead of being 6.3, if you're able to refinance it, 2-3 months down the road or 2-3 years down the road when interest rates go down, then it could be an amazing freaking deal. But again, I think today was the day that we saw so many properties with rents that could potentially understated. But in order for us to actually know this stuff and to know that this could be a good deal, right? We need to go out there, we need to talk to our real estate agents, and we need to say, hey, get me the close rents for property just like this within 1/10 of a mile. And if there's none, then you could do 1/4 of a mile. And if there's none, you could do 1/2 a mile. But I want to look at other, in this case, right, dilapidated 1960s grandma looking duplexes and see if I could get more money for them, right? Or if I can't, how much do I need to spend to make it look nice, and then compare that, run it through the calculator and see if it makes sense, right? But I think today is the day more than any, honestly, of the entire year where I saw properties that could be, that the way that they sit are like freaking D's, C's, and F's, but that could be B's and A's if the rents really work out. And a couple of them, and you guys saw that stuff, a couple of them had the potential to like really demand more for the rent probably. So I would go back. I would discard this property just because there are so many other properties that we've seen that just, they're easy pickings, guys. There's easy pickings. Just go through the freaking videos and you'll find them. If they're still on the market, go look at them, right? But I would just store these properties away. All of these where you could check the rents. Like these are emails to your real estate agents. Like, look this property up. Get me the rents in this area. That should take your agent 5 minutes for each one, right? Don't ask the guy. Don't ask the girl to go ahead and give you comps, okay? Because for an agent, comps means like doing this whole freaking analysis, which is basically like appraising the property. Don't ask them for that. Just tell them like, hey, dude, like this thing says that it has two 1s and a 2.2 and a 2.1. Can you get me the prices or the close rents for the 2-bedroom 2.1s in the area? And then you could estimate that basically like, if they're getting $1,800 for a 2.1, that a 2.2 should get about $200 more or $100 more, right? Look into Facebook Marketplace and look at the area. See if the rents, right? Look at the quality of the product, right? And then if it all makes sense, right? Then go look at the property, right? But don't fall in love with anything, please. Fall in love with the numbers, right? The numbers will tell you to fall in love or not to fall in love, okay? And if you guys want me to run anything through the calculator, whether it's here in South Florida, whether it's in Tampa, whether it's in Washington, D.C., or in freaking, I don't know, wherever you live, right? As long as it's in the States, I know that these numbers will work for you guys. So I hope that you guys had a good day. I will see you guys tomorrow, Friday. And hopefully there's a lot more properties, honestly. So you could look at them and hopefully things make a little bit more sense. Today, these last 2 days, honestly, there's been some that, could be home runs. But, they look like crap when you first look at them. But that's what the due diligence period is for. And due diligence starts, this is starting due diligence. This is step one, looking at the products. The next one is actually going and verifying these rents, guys. The first part of due diligence, again, is going through enough potential deals. Okay, that's the first part. Grant Cardone, Brandon Turner, like Robert Kiyosaki, they all say the same thing. You have to go through hundreds of deals. Honestly, I think it's at this point thousands of deals before you find one that's really freaking worth it. So, and sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, and sometimes it's a diamond in the rough. And so maybe today we saw a couple of those, but the only way that you could really know if it's a diamond in the rough is, guess what? Polishing that freaking rock, you know, grinding through that rock and being like, holy cow, it's a real diamond, dude. And so I'll leave that for you guys. And if you guys want me to do some of that actual homework in another video, just let me know in the comments, and we'll budget a little bit more time. We'll go live a little bit earlier, and we'll do that too. All right, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.